Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Phil Risher, and on today's episode, we're going to be discussing how Justin grew his gutter and roofing company into the go-to company in a very, very competitive market. Justin, thanks so much for joining us today, man.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me, man.
For sure. So you're the owner of Gutter Ethics. How did you get into the gutter cleaning trades space?
Yeah, I'll try to be concise here. It was kind of like random, odd, like a lot of people I think in this industry. You find
Yeah.
yourself kind of just stumbling into some things, and then it worked. So right out of high school, I was debating on whether to go to college or not, and I this was in the time I'm 41, so I'm old enough to be old, but young enough to be young, right?
Yeah.
And this was at a time when you would still look for jobs like literally in a paper, right? And I came across this ad that was a chimney company looking for a chimney technician.
Wow.
And this is again, to give context, guys, for the younger, crowd, is I'm like, guys, this is a time where you just took a job. Like you were just like so happy to get a job. You're like you didn't talk about what you were going to make. That was
Yeah.
like afterwards. Like we'll talk about that later. I just need the job.
Yeah.
So got the job. And the individual who hired me, quirky but smart and unique, and really knew how to grow. He took a shoestring budget and really, as far as the customer was concerned, we were like, the bee's knees, right? Like we were the best.
Mm-hmm.
And but they had no clue that this dude was operating this like out of a 2-car garage from his house, right?
Yeah.
And like we would, I got the job. I immediately just dove into working with him. We had nothing but all we did was chimney maintenance and repair and like chimney
Wow.
cleaning.
Yeah.
And but we had like the super high end contracts in Northern Virginia, like all the historical properties and buildings. I was going into like, high end government officials' houses. And then he secured the contract with the White House and the Capitol.
Wow.
And I, at like 19 years old, was in every. I mean, I remember the engineer one time in the Capitol looked at me and said, "You couldn't pay to get in this room you're in right now, dude."
Yeah.
Like he was like, Michael Jordan couldn't pay to get in this room. And here you are, you young 19-year-old, just being like, and the room that I was in was the Kennedy's chambers.
Wow.
And I remember I was working on the chimney, the firebox, and to put this in perspective, like this was like some black ops stuff. Like you had to know your job so well. You didn't talk. You didn't like, you literally walked your way backwards out of rooms and stuff. So we were like really, we were in our world, we were elite, like high end elite.
Yeah.
And I remember he said to me, I was at this table and I looked over and it was this like custom big chess, piece of a chess game, and it had like world leaders as the pieces.
Wow.
And there was these pair of black sunglasses there. And he was like, "Hey, you know whose those are?" He's like, "Those are Jackie Onassis's." And he was like, "And the last person that touched those was her. If you bump that table, you have literally shifted history." And I'm like 19 years old, man. I'm like,
Like,
"What?" I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to earn a paycheck, right? And they got, brother, man, like people don't realize, like
yeah.
they bring in companies with like laser beams to clean off the chandeliers. Like they don't touch the chandeliers. Like this is like
Yeah.
some wild stuff, right? It's the Capitol, right? It's the
Yeah.
White House. So, anyways, I took what I learned from that, which was a crazy capacity to be attentive. And really at a level that now looking back on it, it's still to this day is embedded in my genetics. Like if I carry a vacuum through my house, even like you would think I was playing Doctor Operation. Like I'm not touching walls, I'm not doing anything.
It's something crazy that in the trades, it's like, the plumber's crack and all this stuff. You think about that. But when you are 19 and you're in, the White House or the Capitol and you're responsible for doing this service in there, I think it really is like mind blowing that like I took this job and now I have this huge responsibility. Like there's endless possibilities of how this could go. I'm not just in some random person's house. I think for someone that's getting into the trades, you never think that like the White House has to get their gutters cleaned. They have to get a new roof. They have to get their ducts cleaned. Like someone
Yeah.
has to
This
do
no,
all of those
yeah,
services.
no. This was 100%.
Yeah.
This was 100%. I remember being around some armed guards and just thinking to myself, like, and I could tell these guys were like prepared to pop anybody off from a distance, and I'm like, just trying to make some chimney bricks aren't falling out, bro. And it was like, but to your point, I was like, man, it felt very big and
Yeah.
like formal, and I knew there was possibility there. Um,
So
but
how did you go into gutter cleaning from that? Like, did you?
yeah, so that's how we kind of stumbled into it. One day we were at a yet again another high end home, like I think in McLean, Virginia, and the customer said to my boss, hey man, can you clean the gutters while you're here? And classic scenario, why you're here, why you're up there scenario. And my boss looked at me and like kind of waved me on just to do it. And so I did it. And when I came down, the guy, of course, was like, what do I owe you? And my boss threw out, I think it was like a number of like $300, right? Decent sized home. And even still today was decent money for what it
Yeah.
was. Probably actually overcharged him, to be honest. And the guy pulls out $300 bill or three $100 bills, and he hands it to my, and he proceeds to hand it to my boss. And my boss just waved him on to hand it to me. Now I knocked this out in like 20 minutes, dude.
Yeah.
And that was my eureka.
Wow.
That right there, I was probably 20 years old, and I made $300 in 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, I was like, man, if I could go do like 5 of these a day, right? I was like, game over. And I would still be off by 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
like on my way home, pulling into the house at 1.
Yeah. So what did the chimney guy, was he like encouraging you like, hey, go out and do this and I'll feed you leads or something? Or was it like, I don't know how I'm gonna
No, I don't think he was thinking that deep into it.
Okay.
Finding out later when I finally parted ways with him, which was amicable. It wasn't nothing crazy. It was,
Yeah.
matter of fact, he even said to me when I parted ways with him, he was like, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen one day." He was like, "Justin, you were too smart." He was like,
Yeah.
you were just too aware, soaking up too much information." And then later on, I found out he was like, "Hey man, do you know why I always paid you so good?" And yeah, might I add, this guy was paying me like I was 19 years old, making like $3,000 a week. Like,
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty. I like, and now granted, that was crazy hours. I tell this story all the time. I will always be indebted to this guy because we worked, I believe it was 123 days straight with no days off,
Wow.
like 12-hour days. And I was just so hungry to make something out of myself
Yeah.
that I will always look back at that as like a superpower, because I knew from that moment on, you can be bigger, smarter, whatever. You will get tired before I will.
Yes.
You will want to quit before I will.
Yes.
You will get hungry and need lunch. You will feel stinky and take a shower. I will work right through it. And so later on, he tells me, he goes, man, I never really told you this, but he was like, you kind of took the place of like 3 people. And he was like, that's why I paid you so well, because like you were just, he was like, dude, you would come in like you were fat, like you didn't eat, you would fast all day. And that was before people were talking about fasting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that was. He was like, you were fat. I was like, what is that? He was like, we just wouldn't eat. He was like, you were just so focused on work and getting things done. And so when it came that time, he was really just like, I get it, man. And so, this was a time of the world where you were still, like there were really the yellow pages and people were calling and you were putting flyers out and doing that old school, super old school organic approach. And it just
kind of got going. So once you had the eureka moment, like gutter cleaning, wow, I can make some money doing this. You start doing some on the side, then you start a business.
Mhm.
You were the technician, you were out cleaning the gutters.
Everything. I was everything.
Okay.
I was everything.
So what year was this, or how long ago was this?
Oh man, this was probably what are we now? 24. I want to say this was, maybe 2008, 2007, somewhere around there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while, and it was just
So you started filling your routes with, and then you're like, okay, I need to hire someone and train them.
Yep.
And did you step off the truck at that point and train that person, or were you running like you and someone else? And
correct. Yeah, we had a couple trucks running at that point. And look, man, I'm the classic cliche story of an entrepreneur struggling to let go, struggling to struggling to train. It's all like, there's a reason why it's cliche.
Yeah.
And just bringing people on, and it'd be one thing if we were like cutting grass. I think I'd be a little bit more ease, but this was a job that people can literally get very severely hurt at, and or worse. And so and you're working on people's houses, like really doing major, like sometimes major repairs and or replacements. So there was just a lot of liability and concern there. And I was super young and, in my mid 20s, taking on a crazy amount of like responsibility, from all the way from purchasing things to debt, to this, to that, to that. And so I just, I don't want to use the word struggled, but I definitely was reserved about taking my finger off the pulse. Hired people and just taught them, trained them. And luckily, and some of those guys, by the way, still work for me to this day.
Wow.
And so I was lucky to just kind of know some people who are already somewhat in similar trades,
Yeah.
and they saw what I had going on and were like, dude, classic. It was almost like a startup, like,
Yeah.
dude, let me be a part of that startup. Like, cause I know I'll reap benefits, fast forward,
Yeah.
10, 15 years from now.
Yeah. So were you selling service contracts, or were you just like, job to job, and then hopefully they reoccurring every year or 6 months or
Yeah,
kind
at that time, I don't think the
Yeah.
world was just witty enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We just weren't. I mean, and I really mean as a whole, like the entire, like, I mean, even my buddies who were in HVAC, like they weren't even
They weren't
thinking
doing
about
it.
that stuff, right? It was
Yeah.
just like, and it always goes back to I'm a big proponent of, like, believer of it, it's always about, like, your thresholds of, like, what you call comfortable, right? Like, you want to get to this level financially and make this much, and you're good with that. And so at the time, we were just happy to be so busy and always having calls and jobs and da 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 da. So it just,
Yeah.
that was good enough for
Yeah.
us at the time.
Yeah. And what about now? Do y'all have service contracts for gutter?
Absolutely, man. Service contracts,
So what does that
automation.
look like? What does that look like?
So we try to promote to our customers that we should be out at a minimal once a year, at a minimal.
Yeah.
Now, kind of rewinding quickly, what we did was we started to build trust really quick with our customers, so they started to ask for other services like, hey, can you replace my fascia board, my gutters, my this? So it just kind of kept building. I always compare it to Amazon. Amazon, just wanted to sell you books, but they knew if they could build your trust on something simple, that eventually you would buy others from them.
Exactly.
And so we pretty much did the same thing, and before you know it, we were replacing, 20 something $1,000 roofs and siding and this and that and all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
So service contracts allows you to say like, hey, let's get you on a rotation. You'll come in to our kind of like the HVAC world, come in
Yep.
for a simple repair or maintenance, get you on a service contract. How did you make the transition into roofing? Was it just natural? You're on the roof. People are like, hey, do you replace shingles or this kind of thing? Or what was the progression like that? And also the skill set that it takes for that. Cause it's
Yeah,
different
because
skill
they're two
set.
totally different worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be very candid, that's the thing that's kept us to this day separated from the pack.
Mm,
I'm a licensed builder, commercial residential. I can build a strip mall. That's where my education's in.
okay.
And so we have a knowledge base that really is robust, man. I mean, like, again, bro, I mean, point to a part of the house and I could give you the gist of it really quick.
Yeah.
And so does my team as well, too, so actually, I'm going to argue they're even smarter than me because they're out there in the trenches doing the work.
Yeah.
So we already had a certain level of skill set going into it that we were comfortable with, and we knew if we could increase that skill set through, I hate to say it, learning, because unfortunately in the trades, I hate to break it to you customers and consumers out there, is we don't have, like, we're not working on Godivers out there, guys. Like, there's no
Yeah.
fake houses to go put fake roofs on, right?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like,
Dude, it's the same with digital marketing. Like, oh, we're just gonna build a fake website out there and like build 100 fake websites. Like, no.
you're literally building the plane and flying it at the same time.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
right? Or as I tell my kids all the time, like, whoever invented the shipwreck. Like,
yeah.
like you're going to try and you're going to fail.
It's true.
Yeah, yeah. So, we kind of learned, we took our skills that we already had, built on that. We're always, though, obsessed with customer, like, satisfaction and service and skill set, like, almost to an extreme. Like, I have two particular guys on my team, one in particular that will always come to mind, who is just like, dude, if it's not right, it's wrong, period.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I will work here. I remember when we were first starting, this guy would stay on jobs till 10 o'clock at night with headlamps to be like, nah, man, like,
Yeah.
I'm not driving away with it not like this.
Yeah.
And so we just built this culture and this attitude of, like, it had to be right. Like, there was no BSing. And that, like I said, when I say to a fault, what I mean is, like, we were just, it was at a level, like, I always tell everybody when they hear the word code, like, don't get so impressed by code. Code means bare minimum. That's all it means, right? Like, entry level, or builders couldn't be profitable. So we were always just taking it to that next level. How could we integrate things into our system, into our install processes? And that just kind of took
Yeah.
off, man. People were seeing it. Word of mouth was happening, and so on.
And I think that's when you and I connected, that's what really stood out to me. I interviewed this guy named Brandon, and he owns a painting contracting business. But what stood out to me was that what he was saying he used to do was he would basically like get leads. It's a sales company where he was just selling, and then didn't know the sub he was going to sub it to, but he would be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm going to sub this out. He'd go on Craigslist, who wants to do this job, and then like try to sub it out. And you're not building a business, you're just building a sales machine that
Mm-hmm.
will fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why with roofing companies, they're so fly by night
Yes.
because they're always it's a sales organization knocking
That's
doors.
all it is.
And
That's
what
all it
really
is.
stuck out to me for you is that like you were doing gutters ethically the right way.
Yeah.
And people were like, hey, can you do this? And you're like, yeah, we can keep it to our standards and do this. You're not just like a sales organization that's just like subbing random stuff out, which I think is a huge testament to you and your business, that people don't really think of that when they think of a roof, but there's two totally different types of roofing companies out there, I would imagine.
Oh, there are, and again, if there's any consumers that ever come across this interview, is I hate to break it to you guys, the majority of roofing companies out there are, you just nailed it. They're four sales guys sitting in a room waiting for a warm lead, and they're basically brokers. They're selling your job to a sub at a certain margin, and they're going to be project manager, and they're going to get their commission off your install, and both of those parties may not even be associated with that company in the next 2 to 3 years. That is the sub crew and the sales rep, and then you're left with arguably, and the problem is the sales rep doesn't know how to install, usually couldn't swing a hammer if his life depended on it, and then so he has no way to vet the crew, so you kind of a little bit got the blind leading the blind, and the homeowner's just like, to the novice homeowner, they look up at the end of the day and go, those are new shingles. And my yard's not too terribly messy. Must be good, right? There's no understanding of the nuance, the detail, or anything. So,
Yeah. So how did you take your gutter cleaning customers and turn them into roofing customers? Was it a targeted approach?
self promoting initially. Again, this is still in the day of age of getting up, coming down.
Yeah.
Ma'am, did you know? Were you aware? Did you
Yeah.
understand? And the thing that I jumped on from day one when these devices came about were smart devices. The moment I still joke around. It's probably worth some serious money. I got a original iPhone and original iPad still in the box.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because I knew from day one. I was like, game over on device world, right?
But are you an Apple guy though? Because when
I
you said that,
am.
yeah.
I'm an Apple guy. I'm
Oh,
an
okay.
Apple guy. So what you may be popping up is through our voice over IP
Oh, yeah,
system.
that's right. Okay.
But I'm an Apple guy through and through, man. And I just knew from a mile away, I could see the ecosystem they were creating, all the app style applications. So what I'm getting at is like we immediately jumped on iPad in particular. The iPad in particular. This is what I'm doing this on right
Yeah.
now is an iPad, right?
Okay.
Is I was for me, I was like, wow, a big phone
Yeah.
that I don't need to have connectivity. It's got data.
Yeah.
And so put that in the hand of your technicians. They can take pictures, they can take videos, they can put notes on file, they can show the customer really large and in charge. And that really from day one just showed the customer level of professionalism, and it helped us stay organized. And this was before CRMs and any of that.
Yeah. So do you have any apps or anything that you use now, like Company Cam, or like with roofing? I think there's things
Yes.
you can even like analyze the roof and like get a price and like that kind of stuff. Are there any like apps that you would say have been pretty?
Dude, Company Cam, I would tell anybody to use Company Cam, even if it was just if you told me you were a bird watcher, I would tell you to use Company Cam, right? Because it'd be like it keeps everything organized. You can track the GPS location. You're not eating up data on your device or space on your device. I don't care if you even have a terabyte. Now they have that capacity to be able to do like 60-second videos. Excuse me. So Company Cam is like when that came about, man. I yet again another company where I was like, well, you guys are off to the moon. And so Company Cam, as you know, see the coffee cut in the back. We use Jobber. We've been on Jobber from day one. I say day one. We got on with them kind of in their early beta days a little bit. Dude, entrepreneurship is just funny, man. Like some of the things that I've stumbled across of, like I'll remember this to the day I die. If somebody asked me about Jobber, how'd you find Jobber? On a walk at 1 o'clock in the morning through my neighborhood because my dog really wanted to go on a walk, and I just had because I had my phone out, and I'm like just sitting there like flicking through things, and I was researching topics and literally came straight across Jobber and was like, that looks kind of interesting. Called him up the next day, did a trial month, and boom, here we are. 6, 7, 8 years later.
Yeah. That's crazy. So you use Company Cam, Jobber. What about like Nice Job or any other?
Yeah, so Nice Job, we've used for quite some time with the integration with Jobber.
Yeah.
I will say, and I know I'm not the first one to say this about Jobber, so if anybody from their team hears this, they know we love them. But Jobber is really good at letting others do like
Yeah.
create products and then like we'll API it,
Yeah.
and like integrate it. There are some things I wish, and look to that point though, I don't blame them. Like let somebody else work out all the kinks, and if we think it's that great of a product, maybe we'll build out our own within
Yeah. Yeah.
internally, right?
Yeah. Service Titan is the same way, to be honest.
Absolutely,
So they all kind of do that because they try to focus on their core stuff, and they're like,
sure,
"Oh, that's a cool add-on. Like either buy the company or build something of their own."
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nice Job. What else? What else? What else? Hatch. We use
Oh yeah.
Hatch to follow up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and all those are awesome tools, and they're amazing. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, man, I remember the first year using Jobber, I was just like, wow, man, everything's in one place, and
Yes.
we can go back to the customer, because before that it was, oh gosh, dude, the world we lived in was just
Yes.
stupid.
Yeah. So let's say someone, they have like 3 or 4 people,
Hmm.
and they're trying to get to 10-ish people or something like
Hmm.
that. Is there anything particular that helped you? Like, hey, when I got off the truck and I started running the business, that helped me. Or when I put in this system or this game plan, what was it? Or maybe a combination of things.
So this is where somebody like you comes into play, being awesome at what you do. Is I'm a big believer in, everybody wants to say build it and they will come. Like, everybody in the contracting world, and I think this is just human nature. Like people get, they want to get the big shiny truck, they want to wrap it, they want to look the part before they are the part.
Yeah.
And they go do all that stuff. And I did it the exact opposite. I was obsessed on getting customers first.
Mm.
And what I found was getting customers was like, how can I say this? It was like, it's like being a brewery or a winery or a restaurant, and just knowing that there's so many people out of the door that it's going to put you in a position where it's game time. Like you will, if you want it bad enough, you are going to scramble to
Yes.
build out the things in place to fulfill the need, right? Where if you're trying to create I hope, mythological need, like, oh, maybe one day I'll have 1,000 customers, so let me put that system in place now, so when those 1,000 customers get here, I'm ready to go.
Yes.
That, in my opinion, is kind of the cart before the horse. It's like, you're busy,
Yes.
you're not accomplished,
Exactly.
and you're doing all these little things. So what I did was I got super, and why I brought you up was I got, really focused on the marketing side,
Yeah.
and getting the customers and getting the leads and getting the people, because it makes you go. I mean, when you get 100 calls in a day, which might I add, we got yesterday, it makes you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a part about the airplane. Like you fill the airplane, then you got to build an addition.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
oh, we need another engine over here because this one's sagging a little bit.
Yep. And there's
Yeah,
something to be said for that pressure, right? And anybody who doesn't believe that, then okay, then why would Elon Musk go take the Cybertruck and say, give me the 5,000 orders now? Because then all of a sudden, they go back to corporate, the engineers, everybody's looking at each other like, oh my, do you see what we got to fulfill?
exactly.
And again, if you don't have that entrepreneur like craziness about you, and it really is a little bit of craziness. Look, I know none of us want to live in the crazy. We want to try to get out of the crazy, but I tell anybody, man, if you like your 9 to 5s and getting off early on a Friday, this ain't for you, bro. Like, even if you build your business to the point where you eventually can do that,
Exactly.
the mentality of the entrepreneur, that's just, we kind of thrive in chaos a little bit.
Exactly. We love the pressure. We thrive in chaos. Diamonds come from pressure. There's a good book about it's called Buy Back Your Time.
Yes.
And yeah, and he says like we operate in chaos and we thrive. So we create chaos in our business sometimes when it's like, whoa, hold on, it's all working. It's all working.
Yes.
But to your point, I think this is a really good point. One of my buddies, he's starting a business. He literally posted 9 reels on his Instagram. He got a customer that reached out and he was going to charge her $400. She's like, no, pay $1,500. That's what it's worth. Then he literally called me yesterday and I'm like, dude, like, let's go. And now he's like, he's going down a whole nother thing. He's like, I need to build a website. I need to get contracts and all stuff. I'm like, dude, no, just post more stuff, get more customers, and like
Yes.
it'll force you to do those things.
Yes.
But don't get a logo and a business card and all stuff. Go get customers. Like
Yes.
you'll build it from there.
Yes. I know we live in a, a new, and I mean, whatever, I'm probably putting too many cards on the table here, and you can edit this out later if you have to.
That's all
But
fine.
is, we live in this new world of like, obviously, sensitivity, right? A lot of people are sensitive about things, whatever. No harm, no foul. It is what it is. But I'm a big believer that being uncomfortable is one of the greatest, sometimes the greatest things, right? Like if you want to feel uncomfortable and maybe even darn near say embarrassed, that will make you rise to the occasion. You talk to a fighter, like get choked out in front of 50,000 people and let me know if you ain't working on your jiu-jitsu that night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of pressure really does just weed out the people who are being entertained by the idea and the people who are obsessed by the idea. And so for me, again, my wife with her degree in psychology is like, she jokes about it all the time. She's like, dude, you've built this thing. You arguably can be a lot more restful if you wanted to. Yeah. She's like, even if you sold it one day, she's like, you will find something else to just get really intense about because that's just you.
Yeah, I think in that book, Buy Back Your Time, or another book that I read, he was saying, okay, what's the goal? Like go and live or go on a beach or something and just relax. Well, like we're wired. We'll see the guy putting the umbrella in the sand and be like, oh, that's a great business. Like he could make up 5 more shops. Like he should do this online ordering for umbrella.
Dude, everything's a business, right?
Yeah,
Like you're driving. My wife loves it. I mean, we really do. Like my daughter just started a horse cookie business, like a high-end horse treat business, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because like, let's just be real, man. You see, I got the horse shirt on for my daughter, blah blah blah.
Hey,
your daughter, my daughter. It's dude. The joke everybody knows: horses are expensive, right? If you have a $40,000 horse, you think you're not going to buy a $5 high-end horse treat? Of course you are, right?
Exactly.
One, you have the financial means probably, and two, you want to give it the best. So
yeah.
So, but the point there is yes, to your observation, it's funny, right? Because we both like got big smiles joking about it because we know it's true. Like there's nothing, like it does not matter what it is. I'm always just like the one I'm always blown away by. The one I'm always like, how in the heck was this under all of our noses and we didn't do this? I didn't do this. You didn't do it. Whoever is the pooper scooper, the pooper or the poop troops, whatever.
Yeah, poop troop.
Man, that dude. I think it started from Fairfax and now they're like worldwide.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, all because he was a landscaper that just finally started asking his customers, like, hey, dude, can I charge you $10 to pick up this poops that you're not obviously picking up that I'm now hitting with a lawnmower and slinging all over my feet?
Exactly.
And they blew up.
That's right. This is a perfect tie into, you started in chimneys. Someone said, hey, gutters. You're like, yeah, we can do gutters. You got into gutters. Someone's like, hey, can you do my roof? Yeah, we can do your roof.
Yep.
I think there's a really good principle in here for business owners that if you're not listening to your customers, and whether you're doing the service or you're finding affiliate partners to partner with and refer business out, there's a huge opportunity to make more money, to do the job without actually doing the job, or figuring out how you can take your lifetime value of your customer to the next level.
You just hit it, lifetime value, man. Everybody's so we live in a world now of new, like and you know this in the marketing world, everybody's asking, how do I get new leads? Well, what are you doing about your leads you have? What about your current paying customers now? Like, are they coming back to you? Are you upselling? Do they even know you do anything else?
Yeah.
It's crucial.
We have a good saying, you can't get lifetime value without a lifetime relationship.
Yeah.
And if you're not actually touching your customers, reaching out to them, emailing them, stopping by their house when you're in their neighborhood, fill in the blank. Do you think that they might know you as Gutter Ethics? They might not know that you do roofs.
Yeah.
No one ever told them.
Yeah, no, trust me, dude. Before we got a little bit more dialed in with our marketing and our retargeting and like pixels and all that jazz.
Yeah.
I remember a few times having a customer being like, Justin, I just got my roof replaced or my windows replaced. I didn't know you did them. And I was like, there's something wrong with this, man. Like this stings. Yeah. Like, I don't like this. Like, and especially when they then even go as far as saying, oh, I would have hired you, no questions asked. Like you're dude, you guys are my boys. Like, why didn't I know? And I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Now
So what are
we're past that phase now, but
some quick tactical questions. So like
yeah,
your gutter cleaning techs, do you incentivize them to sell roofing leads or like
yeah, to
real
promote,
roofing leads?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So we create like different tiers of bonuses, basically depending on the size of the project, right? I mean, you go out there and you get a customer to sign up on a 20 something $1,000
Yeah.
roof install, we're going to take care of you, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, then there's maybe the townhouse roof, maybe there's the repair. So there's different tiers there. But our big obsession as a brand now is just acquiring as many, and again, sounds cheesy and surface level, but hey, well, pun intended, it's surface level, is trying to acquire as many customers as possible. Therefore, then building out the team and creating this ecosystem, this world where we are just so gosh darn in demand that we're now interviewing our customers as much as they think they're interviewing us. I know you guys do that, obviously,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that now our income is so foreseeable in the future and so projected that if we were to even just turn off all the marketing and ads and leads, that we could literally look at the year and go, well, if we didn't sell not a single thing, this is what our year will bring in. So now we know what we should be reinvesting, whether it be through pay, buying new trucks, equipment, now throwing fresh marketing that we're doing every single day and building, on top of that and upselling to that foundation of customers. That's where what I call the play money is, right? Because
Yep.
now it's like, okay, that's where our team can go out there and build on their own income. We can build the brand more. That's kind of where we're at, man. We want to get to a place where we have so many repeat clients, so many annual clients that again, we can look a year to two out and know that regardless, we're going to have this.
Yeah. I think for your business, it's great that you got that because the gutter cleaning is a repeatable thing. Roofs is like, every 20, 30 years, whatever,
Yep.
windows, similar. But when you have all those things that you can cross sell and keep customers coming back, I think you just create this ecosystem of referrals,
Yep.
of, staying in touch with them, getting repeat business. So,
Yep.
I mean,
And the problem in our industries, though, man, and if I can touch on that quickly on why companies I think struggle with this
yeah,
is, you know, we've gotten to this place. I mean, again, you lived in Northern Virginia, so you're familiar.
yeah,
Is we've gotten to certain markets, higher end markets, which Northern Virginia is one of them. We've gotten to a place where, you know, the service industry is really like sales rep oriented, right? Sales rep oriented. The problem with that is then the smaller jobs come for the birds, right? It's for the birds because there's no commission there, right? There's nothing to really kind of grab onto. So you'd have to sell a lot more than to get a good commission off of. So what that's created is you got these companies who are like, I don't do unless. We won't touch unless. And I've always said, man, that's like a restaurant saying, man, if you're not coming in here with 4 people for a 4-course meal, you can't have a bottle of wine and an appetizer.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't sell them a bottle of wine. And first and foremost, there's margin there. So you are making money. Secondly, you're converting that client and they're going to fall in love with what you have and what to offer. And they're going to grow with you.
Exactly.
So it's been kind of a little bit of a self-cannibalizing thing where some of these companies have kind of set themselves up for, they may have had instant gratification. Oh man, this is a great year. We sold so much. Fast forward 10, 12, 15 years. It's like, dude, that's not sustainable, bro.
Yeah. You're not building a business. You're just selling stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's cool. And I'm glad it worked out for X amount of time, but eventually like the floor is going to fall out. Like, when you have like a economic year like this year, for example, and last year, like, and people are like, oh man, our sales are down. I bet they are because your cost of entry is ridiculous.
Well, the guy that I mentioned that I interviewed who was doing the subbing out, the sales thing, he had 12-person team. The rug got pulled out from under him 2 years ago and he went down to 0 employees.
Wow.
Because he wasn't building a business. He was just subbing stuff out. And over the last 2 years, he's literally transformed his entire business to change his mindset because he came from that world. And
sell,
sell, sub it out, find a sub. And that was it. Like, can I pay Angie, X amount of dollars and get so many leads and then sell and then sub it? And he's like, it doesn't work. It works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
But to your point, when you build a quality business, you take care of the customers. You're not getting lawsuits every, other week or something.
Yeah.
You're doing right by the customer. You're going to build a solid business. But then today's the next step. you're going to build a sellable business that's worth something,
Yeah.
not just selling your next job to get a paycheck.
Yeah, man. It's and I think that's unfortunately, I think that kind of boils down to personalities, right? Like you got to be you got to be humble, and I know that's a throw around buzzword, but it's like you really do. Like you got to be a person where you're willing, as a business owner, you can appreciate this. Like you see a lot of money, but I don't mean it's all yours, right?
Yeah.
Like like it's like you reinvest it. You're building something where sometimes, and again, I'm not digging on the sales because, like, trust me, bro, I've got the gift of gab like
Yeah.
nobody would believe. I can get after it, right?
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Exactly. So I'm not dogging on the sales mentality, but what I am dogging on the idea of like, like this idea of like, I need to sell X amount so I can get X amount of commission, and if I can't make X amount, then this company is no longer a company that's a good fit for me. Like, okay, well, if that's always going to be the narrative, and you're not just being force fed leads, and you're in an economic downturn, then
Exactly.
that's a problem, man.
Yeah, you're selling from a place of scarcity. How much can I get, opposed to selling solutions and solving people's problems, and the abundance mindset. The money will come as long as you're solving people's problems.
Yeah, my grandfather used to always say, man, I think maybe I jokingly shared this with you in our original conversation. I would always, good old country boy from Beckley, West Virginia, owned a ton of businesses. I swear to gosh, if you saw the guy, like you would have no clue he had two nickels to rub together. But trust me, he had it. And I would say to him sometimes like, hey, being a young man, hey, grandpa, I'm making a bunch of money this week. And he's like, nah, just too busy helping people.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, eventually, obviously, yes, I'm making money, Justin, because I'm helping people. I'm solving people's problems. Like that is the world. Why do we all pay what we pay for these smartphones? Because of the amount of problems and solutions that they solve for us. They give us ease of use in other aspects. People will pay for ease of use, man.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now called Thou Shalt Prosper.
Mm.
And in that book, it basically is saying that I'm a Christian. As a Christian, it's
Likewise,
our
brother.
job. Okay.
Likewise.
We believe that it's adding value to people's life and solving their problem and loving them. And what he says is that if you are not solving people's problems and helping them, then are you really like living out what you're supposed to be doing, loving people? And what he goes the next step is that when you solve people's problems, they pay you in certificate of appreciation, and that
Yep.
is called dollar bills.
yeah.
So you could quantifiably say the more people that you're helping, the bigger problems that you're solving, naturally you're going to make more money.
Yeah.
So you should give yourself permission that you're not some greedy rich person, but you're actually solving people's problems. And the way that they're saying, hey, thanks so much is here's a certificate of appreciation.
It's super well said. Super well said. It's that's
it's an awesome book. I highly recommend that book.
What is it called again? Thou
Shall Prosper. It's actually written by a rabbi.
That's what's up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And my boy Dave Ramsey, he did the foreword on
Did he?
it. So
Dave's legit, man. I think we all kind of stumbled into Dave in our early years of being like, get my buckets together, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. And to be honest with you, man, like not to get off the path here, but I'm really at a phase now in my brand and my business and my life, man, where my team would tell you, man, they probably think of me more as like of a motivational guy at this point than they do anything else. Like, because, like I have this like, in our call system, I have like I'll send out like a blast text with like a quote in it every morning and things like that. And just, man, I always say like one of my favorite calls to get from one of my team members is that they need to take a week off for vacation, because I'm like, the fact that one, you're going to take that paid week vacation, that you have the financial means to go to that cool place and take your whole family. Like, I'm like, do you realize that's like one of my favorite? That's a reflection of our business. Yes. The fact that you can do this, and it's not the, in the contracting world, I think, let's just keep it real. There's the other calls of like, hey man, so I got pulled over drunk driving. I'm not going to be in work for 10 days. I got to go do this. I got to go do that. It's like, that's the calls you don't want. The calls you want is, dude, I'm going on vacation with my family. It's like, oh man, that's so awesome. I can't wait to hear about it. Like, make sure you send pictures and videos so we can post them and do this and do that. And do all kinds of stuff. So I'm just at a place now, man, where I just, I love seeing people thrive, man. I love, cause that's my real passion, bro. My real passion is a zeal for life. Is just that at the end of the day that you got this one crack at this thing, and you're either, you're either getting after it or it's getting after you. Either, it's life's either happening to you or happening for you. You gotta,
Yeah.
and I heard something from, oh man, I can't think of his name right now. It's going to kill me. God, you ever heard of Rob Bailey?
Yeah.
Kill Rob Bailey?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. Right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like his music, man. So he said something yesterday. I'm sure he got it from somebody else too, but I love the way it was worded. Right? It's like you got to switch your mindset sometimes, right? Right? Like you could say, I've got to do this podcast, or you can say, I get to do this podcast, right? And just that
Yeah.
simple shift, puts a positive spin on it. How blessed you are, how lucky you are. And he says yesterday, I think he did a post where he said, I can't solve this problem, which is just a dead end narrative, right? You're dead in the water, literally.
Yeah.
Or what if I solve this problem?
Yeah.
Like the possibilities after.
Yeah.
And I'm just at a place now where I'm just loving the kind of like the building, the plugging, the playing, the seeing people's life enriched, including mine, and my family's and this and that, and meeting people like you and just really kind of just seeing that, man, there are a lot of good, smart, witty, caring people out there.
Yes, I agree. I think a good takeaway for business owners on this is in your business, look at it as an opportunity to literally build your community with quality people that can make money and you can speak into their lives. You have built this thing to create this opportunity for people. Like what a blessing that we have to be able to
Amen.
do this for people. And I think a lot of times we can get bogged down in those calls. Like someone broke into my truck, I did X, Y, and Z, your accounts receivables, all this. Suppliers not paying and everything. But when we really distill it down, it's like life. Like we're helping these people live a quality life and build a quality family in our community. And
Yeah.
that's something that, it's a big burden to take on, but it's a blessing as well to be able to have that.
It is, man. It is. And I would say to anybody getting into this, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here or a wet blanket, is the thing you have to, and I'll tread this lightly, you have to protect yourself is, and this is more deeper, philosophical, spiritual, etc., is, I always equate to dealing with, right, the old saying, the human element, right? People, we're dealing with people, right?
Yeah.
And dealing with people, I've always said, is like walking through like a beautiful scene in like somewhere in like the jungles of Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you see this lion that you would never kill, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't eat you, right? And so it's what I've personally, and I say unfortunately, but then I immediately say fortunately because it's taught me so much about life and myself and just in general is, just as much as there are some amazing people out there, there's the opposite, right? There's the opposite.
Yeah.
And sometimes we always take inspiration from people that we want to be like and things we want to be like or do. But I'm a big believer you can find inspiration in the opposite, right? Like you can also find inspiration of what not to do and what not to behave like and not what to act like. So I always try to walk away from an interaction and be like, okay, well, cool. I'm not down with that, but there's a reason why I know I'm not down with it, and thank you for showing me why I would never be down with it. You know what I mean? Like,
you've given me clarity to my values on why I
yeah, man. And again, I know that's kind of off the beaten path a little bit, but I say that because anybody coming into any business, I would tell them any field of entrepreneurship is, there's a lot of sharks out there, man. There's a lot of biters out there, and you're gonna swear you knew this person, that person, and it will weigh at you, and and you brought it up, a man of faith, Jesus really had to give Judas that long stare, man, and be like, it's hard, man.
There's some people, and this is something that I hate when people say this, but like it's just business. It's like, no, this is not just business. This is life. Like we're two human beings, and you treat people with respect, regardless.
Brother, me and you both. When I get that, I'm like, dude, that you just told me everything I needed to know.
Exactly.
That at the end of the day, if something doesn't fit for the narrative of just business, you will cut anybody off in half, whatever. Yeah. And so going back to being inspired by the wrong.
Exactly.
Cool, bro. Thanks for showing me. You just showed me everything I needed to know, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. Because the one thing that we deal with on our side of the fence as a contractor service provider is, whether this be plumbing, electrical, our world is, believe it or not, is suppliers. Suppliers are massive, companies. Like, I mean, we're talking within the, billions. I
Yeah.
won't get into names, but there's some of them out there that have created some of the wealthiest people in the country and or the world.
Yeah.
And look, cool. I'm a capitalist, right? Thou shalt prosper, right? Like the book, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But it can come sometimes at an expense of, man, hey, we've loved you for 5 years, and today we don't love you, buddy. Not anymore, at least. Out of nowhere, and you're like, because I'm holding you guys accountable to something you said you would do. Like,
Yep.
I mean, okay, like that's weird, but and so it's again the thread here I'm trying to highlight is, we can talk numbers, we can talk marketing, we can talk, how did you transition to this? How did you do this? How did you do that? Dude, it's the most intense sport ever.
Yeah.
It's intense. Like people are coming at you and life's coming at you. Problems are coming at you constantly. All the normal stuff is going to come at you. And, oh, by the way, I'll give an example. Like 2 of my techs broke some phones this week. Just broke some, couple $1,000 phones, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I'll tell you, T-Mobile has been approaching me about switching our account from, this company to them. And that takes about a day and a half. And I have to review the agreement and I have to sign it. And then I have to bring in all 20-something devices and switch them over. I guess I'll just do that on a Saturday. Yeah. Let's just go do that on a Saturday. Sure, Saturday. Let's go sit in a T-Mobile for 4.5 hours and switch over 20-something devices. Not that I was planning on this Saturday, but since you broke 2 devices this week, we might as well just get it done.
Exactly.
Like, dude, like what?
Can't the IT division do that?
Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly, right? Like, oh man, let me pawn that off, right? And that's the stuff I talk about, like, when, and again, for those who have kids, choose to have kids, whatever, like when your daughter looks at you and goes, Dad, can we go? And you're like, no, I've got to. Welcome to entrepreneurship, guys.
Yeah.
Welcome to it, bro. Like, I'll tell you right now, those 2 individuals that broke their phones, they won't be there with me. They'll be with their families.
Exactly.
And I'll be handling that. And, oh, well, what, buddy? Come on, justify it for me. Let's find something.
Yeah. There's a good nugget in here that as business owners, obviously we participate in the upside, but there's also a real downside.
Yeah.
And like with our team, makes commission. And I say, you get to participate in the upside and you don't have the downside. But guess what? Don't get mad because the business owner gets the great upside, but also I get a great downside as well.
Yep. You just took the words out of my mouth, dude. That's really what I was about to segue into, is that bottom line is we are taking all the hits for the most part. And therefore, again, that upside, when you reap the rewards of that upside, it's because of all the hits on the downside. Right. And the way I explain that to my team is like, guys, could you imagine being a part of a football team, baseball team, hockey team, whatever, and absolutely celebrating like crazy on the win and or the championship, but on the losses, you're walking around saying, ain't my fault. Exactly. Ain't my fault. Like I wasn't playing that night. Dude, I could have swore I saw you on the rink. I could have swore I saw you out there.
I don't play goalie. I don't.
Yeah. Ain't my fault, man. We got so many goals in the night. But hold on, and then fast forward, man, I'm going to get a good commission, right?
Exactly.
It's like, dude, that's celebrating on the championship and being non-accountable on the loss. Yep. And that's cool. Whatever. Fine. That's the rules we'll work in. But to your point, cool then. Same token. Then I'm going to reap these over here. And you can't get mad at me, brother, because I wasn't blowing you up on a Saturday saying you're going to meet me at T-Mobile. You going to hang out with me?
Exactly.
Because I'm not being paid to be there.
Yeah, I wasn't the one you weren't the one getting cease and desist letters. You weren't the one, fighting with lawyers on this. You weren't the one taking out this. Yeah. So
and so I think the thread there, the nugget, as you've been using, is, bro, it's intense. It's intense. And you really do have to be. I think we all know it. I think there's a reason why guys like me and you can get on a 20-minute phone call previously and just kind of hit it off, because there's this commonality of respect, and there's almost like it's almost like a guild like vibe, right? You know what I mean? Like we're like, it's like being a hiker and walking through the woods and coming across, you walk by like the day hikers
Yeah.
And then when you're a real avid like hiker and
Yeah.
you walk across a real avid hiker, you're like,
You have a hiker name. You actually have a hiker name. And
yeah, you're like, I know a real hiker when I see one. And
yeah.
then before you know it, two strangers just talking in the middle of the woods about God
Exactly.
knows what. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing like with entrepreneurs, right? It doesn't matter the field of business.
Yeah.
It's like all the situations are similar a lot of the time. So we just find ourselves like, I can relate. I can understand. What about this? What about that? So
Exactly. Well, Justin, man, this has been great. Where should people go to get in contact with you or learn about your business?
yeah, man. So hop on our website. You can obviously email us predominantly at info@gutterethics. We got an Instagram out there. We got a Facebook out there. It's all going to be Gutter Ethics. Just Google Gutter Ethics. Check us out. I will say, if I can be boastful for a second, my thing is business is secondary. If anybody ever wanted to get on the phone, chat with me, pick my brain, business is secondary to more so like growth, human growth development, philosophy. Likewise, being a Christian, all this, that is like my primary. I'm obsessed with constantly being a better version of myself, which constantly, as you can imagine, drips into the business. And that's it, man. I just got a zeal for life, bro. And I'm just, I joke with my son. I'm building a little bit of a monster son, as I've explained to you, I think in our previous chat I joke with him all the time. I'm like, if you ever see daddy walking around with his hand like this, lower like that, just know that's me dragging life by the neck. Like you're coming with me, life. Like I didn't get put on this earth for you to beat me up. Like I'm gonna beat you up. Like we're gonna have fun. We're gonna get after it. We're gonna do some cool stuff. We're gonna love our family, grow a great family, put some good people out into this world. And that's it, man. It's just this zeal for life, this obsession for just. There's so much greatness in this world, whether it be from traveling to meeting people like yourself to just all this good stuff, all the way from a really good cooked plate of food to anything and everything in between. It's just like, man, to walk out into the world and just see bleakness and darkness. It's like, oh, dude, come on, man. You're not talking to the right people, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not talking to the right people, bro.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it, man. Yeah, check me out. Gutter Ethics. Google anything Gutter Ethics will pop up. You can reach out to me. I love this stuff, man. As you can tell probably by this interaction, man, I just love talking about this stuff, talking about life, talking about all this, man, and want to see people inspired, man.
Yeah. Well, Justin, it's been great to get to know you, and I'm thankful for your friendship and look forward to continuing it.
Yeah, brother, for real, man. Really appreciate the time and energy, and thanks for the reschedule.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
All right, man.
Appreciate you, man. Bye.